podcast in which one man strives to level up his geekhood and helping you do the same, one battle at a time. Now, let's get geeky with Gamer Leaf.
In a different world, much like ours, but in this world, the Chinese Admiral Zheng He returns home from his global voyage and discovers that some traders have discovered a flying rock. It's called Bayonor. And so, in the 1400s, in this other world, the Chinese merchants take to the sky with flying ships. This changes the world as we know it. These flying ships bring the whole world together. They bring trade and commerce from remote places to the empire. And it starts to develop into a dynasty of sorts, where trade clans, merchant clans, have all the power. They hoard the power amongst themselves. They own massive fleets of flying sail ships, and these sail ships go thousands of li into the sky. And they, and not the military, are the true power in this world. And from there begins our story. Control almost all of the sky in the known world. But then they discover some remote islands with rich natural resources like pearls and marlins and poppy and coffee. And so they start flying to that space. And that's where the conflict happens. So it's kind of like a gold rush, where all these corporate interests with formidable military might are trying to establish a trade monopoly.
Sound familiar to you? It didn't to me either, but that is the new game that is on Kickstarter. How do you say it? Avertigos? Okay, there's nothing official yet, but I wanted to bring up a great company, which hopefully they'll be backing us or sponsoring us. Game Anywhere Tables, now on Kickstarter for another 13 days or 2 weeks by the time you hear this recording. You can get great rates on their GAT 44 and 54 mod, as well as a GAT 64 table. These are great tables. I sat down with the designer and CEO of the company a little bit ago. You can hear that episode. I'll leave that in the show notes. But I just wanted to bring you aware of those. They are great tables where you can literally game anywhere. Plus, they have magnets and some really great features. I hope you'll check them out on the Kickstarters and tell them that Getting Geeky with Gamer Leaf told you they were the best thing since sliced bread, because they are. Now on with the show, because it must go on. Avertigos. And today we're lucky enough to have on the creator and mastermind behind this game. How do you pronounce it? Siddharth Jain, is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, Siddharth Jain is the name, but you can call me Sid. It's easier.
There we go. So today we have on Sid. Are you both the mastermind and creator of this game, Sid?
I am the lead designer. I work with a team of a very talented team of people. We have our lead artist, George Lim. I have a co-designer, Sean, and another co-designer, Ian Gregory. And we have a team of people who have helped us prototype it and build it and playtest it.
Cool beans. So you have a new game on Kickstarter. What can you tell us about it today, Sid?
So it's a Kickstarter. We've just started off, and we started it very. This is our first Kickstarter, and it's actually gone quite well. We have, we have 28 days to go, and we've already raised about $60,000, and that's about, so this is $60,000 Singapore dollars, right? So it's about 50,000 US. And we're tracking really, really well, and we have audiences of people buying this game from all over the world. The game's very unique. It's actually a game about flying sail ships, and it's set in an alternate reality world, like I said, which is about, it's a game where the merchant warriors take to the sky. And what we've done with this game is we've actually created a game where these ships, these miniature ships, warships, actually move up and down on your table because of our, we built a special stand that can actually extend and make the ships go up and down. And so it creates a very, very new feeling on the tabletop when compared to every other game that you have. The game itself, mechanically, is quite simple. It's similar to, it's been described as being similar to X-Wing, and it has elements of scythe in it as well. So there is area control, there is movement, there is engine building, and then there is combat. So that's Avertigos. It's a very, very refreshing, very different, very new take on board games.
Cool beans. So what part of the game are you most proud of, Sid?
I think there are two aspects. I mean, we built these Lego-like miniatures. I really love that idea. We actually kind of we've shown everywhere we've shown it. We found a lot of affection for it. It's the first time there's a board game where every time you play the game, the pieces are different, and you can change them on the fly while you play the game as well. So that's the first one. So it's like a little piece of Lego that you put together and you change while you're playing the game. And the other one that we are very proud of is, the height mechanic. We actually give you the feeling of flying over the table. The ships really do move up and down, and that really does affect how you think and how you react to what's going on.
Well, that's cool. So you actually build your miniature before you start the game, and you can change it throughout, it sounds like?
Yes, exactly. So it's a very, very different mechanic. It's a very easy. I mean, like our ships, the way we've designed our ships, it's very easy to change them about. Very easy to add new modules on it, change some modules on it. So it's actually something that you can do very, very simply.
Cool beans. So why did you guys choose Kickstarter as a route to get this game out there?
So. As you can imagine, I mean, it's a pretty crazy world. We're building an Asian steampunk story. Like you mentioned, it's not a kind of a story a lot of people are familiar with. So it's very new, and we had to be able to show it to the world before the world started to believe in the dream the way we believe in the dream. Also, the mechanics themselves are pretty crazy. So with these moddable miniatures, and our height stands and all the other things that go into the box, for us to be able to make this game without some sort of funding was almost impossible. And the thing is that, for us to have approached conventional publishing and things like that, I think we would have kind of had to make a lot of compromises on this dream that we were building. And we didn't want to make those compromises. We wanted to make this game the way we conceptualized it, the way we thought it should look.
Cool beans. So yeah, you don't want to lose part of that in making the game. Cool. And so during playtesting, was there ever anything that you guys just had to scrap that wouldn't work with the game?
Yes. So the game has had many iterations, and we've actually come through. So we started playing this. I mean, like, the first thing that we knew that we wanted to do was this idea that we wanted a miniature game where the ships move up and down. So the first thing that we kind of tried to perfect is a point-to-point movement system that let us give the player that feeling that, this ship is gaining a height, it's diving down, it's swooping, it feels like an aircraft. So to give that feeling, we actually had to test the movement very, very thoroughly, and we've come a long way from where we started. We started with, we had to change the size of the cards. We needed some special tooling. We had to change the way the miniatures themselves look, the base worked, and the mechanics worked. We changed a lot of the rules, and so this game has been in development for almost a year now. We have a team of about 12 dedicated playtesters that have been refining the design for us. We've played it very, very often, and it's actually it's a very robust system. So while this is our first game, so I wanted to mention this, while it's our first game, board game, I actually represent a games company. So we do video games. So we've been doing video games and simulations now for about 12 years. So we're a very experienced development team.
Cool, beans. So what took you over into the board game field then?
So I myself play a lot of board games. I'm a huge fan. I play a lot of Memoir 44. I play Small World. I play Terraforming Mars. I have over 100 games in my collection. And this is how I spend my time with my daughters. So we play board games together. And so when we decided that we wanted to do a new project, I said, why not do a board game? And this was one of the things. The team was very enthusiastic about it. Again, we've done in the past. We participated in the development of a game you might have heard of. It's called Spoils. It's a tournament card game, The Spoils. And so a lot of members of my team actually have worked on that game before. This is way back. It's almost 10 years ago. And so we had fond memories of actually working with real stuff, with cardboard. And so we said, let's try doing this. Let's build this new game and let's put it up on Kickstarter and see what the world thinks of it. And so far it's been an amazing ride.
Cool beans. So about that, going back to the mechanic of the ships going up and down, what does that do for the player? Like, how does that help you? Can you explain that mechanic a little bit more to me?
So just like you would imagine in real life aerial combat, right? So real fighting in the air, having the higher ground has a significant advantage tactically and strategically, but it's difficult to gain that upper hand. And so in the game also, the whole idea is you build your empire, you launch new ships, and you try to make them gain height. And the more height your ships gain, the more advantage you seemingly have. Your ships flying the highest on the table, you have many more abilities, many more possibilities of what you can do. However, to use that advantage, often you have to dive, to go down, right? So what happens is it's a way to signify stored potential. So you basically gain height. So normally you can only move 3 cards in one go in a turn, right? So you can only move a small amount of distance in one turn. But suppose you're on a high height and you dive down, you are able to play more cards, up to 7 cards in one turn. And so there's a significant difference between somebody who dives from a height or just moves from the same height in terms of what they can accomplish in a single turn. So this is something that we reflected through the use of height. And it's actually quite intimidating if you play the game to see that somebody has a lot of miniatures that are hovering above not only the board, but they're above your eye level, and you see them. It's a very kind of awe-inspiring feeling, and it's a kind of feeling that you don't often get in board games.
Cool beans. And so they use their cards to gain height, or how do you gain the height again? I'm sorry, I apologize.
Okay, so there is a physical plastic widget that goes up and down, right? And so the miniature is actually standing on a stand that lets you extend. When you extend the stand, the ship goes higher, kind of like a radio antenna, right?
Okay.
And so imagine that you start with a ship and it's on the table, and when it takes off and when it gains height, it's almost your eye level, right? The miniature is almost at your eye level.
Okay.
And then when you dive, it again comes down. So that you really do feel the ships are flying in front of your eyes.
Cool. So when am I doing do anything to make it go higher, or like with cards in the game, or can I just pick to have it go set out to the highest level?
Okay, so yeah, no, it requires you to plan. So there is to gain height, to get that advantage, you have to work for it. What you have to do is again, so we have another mechanic called speed, and what you're trying to do is essentially, like I said, basically what you can do is you can sacrifice height to gain speed. In the same way, you can build up speed and sacrifice some speed to gain height. So you basically, it's a lot of tactical movement, and it's a lot of moving around and actually building up to that kind of moment where you decide, okay, these are the things that I want to do, these are the things that I want to accomplish. And I've actually managed to get my fleets and my ships in the right kind of spaces to be able to allow me to accomplish these objectives.
Cool beans. So let's see here. So say we were sitting down to play a game. How would that look? Like, what do the movements look like? What would your turn look like if you were sitting down to play against me?
Okay, so yeah, Avertigos is a big game. We have a massive 70 cm by 1 meter, which is almost like a 36-inch board. It's a massive board. It's almost I think about the size of your Formula D board. It's huge, and we all start from a different corner, and what happens is there are lots of islands that are in front of us. So this all the action is taking place in South China Sea, and there are lots of islands in front of us. And what you start doing is you actually have these low-flying ships which are called scout ships. And what you start doing is you start taking over these islands. And to take over these islands, you have to fight with the natives. You have to overpower them, and you have to build your own settlements. And you do that, and as you do that, you'll start earning money. And once you earn enough money, you can start buying ships. And so the game builds up slowly. It's a slow burn. So you start with initially trying to expand your territory, and that's how the game originally starts. And then once the players' boundaries start kind of intersecting or colliding, that's when some of the conflict starts. And once the conflict starts, that's when you need the big ships to come out. And so it's kind of like a build-up. There's a lot of, unlike X-Wing,
Cool.
where the fighting starts almost immediately, in Avertigos, you build up to the conflict. And it's actually very kind of, what we've seen, it's a very compelling experience for the people who play.
Cool beans. So what inspired you to come up with this game? Where'd the inspiration come from?
So I love sail ships. Basically, that's one of my kind of I'm a huge fan of sail ships, and I take photographs of them, and I go seek them out. And I'm not a sailor myself. I've enjoyed them mostly, as a passenger or while they are docked and in taking photographs and things like that. And I've had this dream of a flying sail ship for a very long time. And I feel that it's just a very beautiful sight. That ship looks beautiful, and it's kind of sad that it sits in the water. What if it was flying and you could see the whole of it, right? You could see all of it, and it would look beautiful. And so that's where we started. And I spoke to my concept artist, and he'd been thinking about flying sail ships as well. And so he showed us some of the art, and some of the art is what you see on the box today. And we were like, yeah, this is beautiful. Let's build this world, and let's kind of figure out how people can interact with it. So that's how we started building this game.
Cool beans. So besides Vertigos, do you have a favorite board game?
So I have several different categories, and it depends on what kind of mood I am in. If we have a few minutes, usually my family and I will play a round of Coup or Exploding Kittens. That's our usually our go-to quick game. We've been playing a lot of Machi Koro. Very very fond of that game. In heavier games, one of my favorite games is Kanban Revolution. I completely love that game. It took me a long time to try to kind of pick it up, but once I started playing it, I liked it a lot. We play. I play Warhammer 40K with some of my office buddies frequently. So I'm been playing a Chaos Space Marine Army there. So that's like the heavy miniature kind of influence. I have a 9-year-old daughter, so she's with her. Usually, it's either something like Formula D or Black Fleet, and something which is kind of a simple move and do that kind of game. So yeah, quite a few different games.
Cool beans. Yeah, my 10-year-old daughter, Princess Leaf, she really likes Machi Koro. We play that quite often.
Machi Koro is an amazing game. Yeah.
Yeah, and did you say Coup as well?
Coup, yeah.
Is that the one where you're like trying to figure out who's the murderer and whatnot?
No, Coup is an amazing game. It's a science fiction game. It's a card game. It just has about 15 cards, and basically, it's a game about politics, and each person has a hidden identity. And what you're trying to do is you're going to try to discover everybody's hidden identity, and if you're able to do that, then you win the game.
Oh, cool. That sounds interesting. I think Barbarian Leaf has a question for you.
I'm good at Machi Koro.
Yeah, I guess he said he's good at Machi Koro. Cool bean. So, let's see here. Yeah, that's awesome. So, have your kids tested this, or have they been able to play this Avertigos as well?
So if you look at our website, one of the on the Kickstarter, one of the play sessions we put up is of my 9-year-old daughter playing with her friend. So they're having what is called a skirmish match. They're taking their ships and they're fighting each other. It is, in all honesty, we've actually put the game down as 12 plus. Though we've had children as young as 7 play the game, of course with the simple rules, but and enjoy it eventually. But it's not for everyone. So it is, it is a game that is meant for slightly older children. But like I said, my 9-year-old really really enjoys it, and you can actually see her play on our Kickstarter site, and they're very engaged. It's one of those things that it's one of those games that completely makes the kids forget about their iPhone and iPad and video games or whatnot. So I feel really really proud that we do that. With younger children also, the ships themselves, they find that the ships themselves are very very intriguing. We've seen that one of the things that we've seen happen is children love taking the ships and decorating them, and because it's like a little piece of Lego, right? You're changing it around and making it look different, and then you're adding that little sail on it, and it looks very pretty. It can have lots of different colors, and it has beautiful designs, and we've made them look like dragonflies and moths, and so they all look different from each other, and so that in itself is also extremely intriguing. So what we've seen is that it is a family-friendly game. Everybody can play.
Awesome. So going back to the miniatures, can they be painted as well? Have you guys painted any of them? I know you said you're.
Yes, we actually worked with. A few of us are miniature painters ourselves. We have painted some of the miniatures, but we've not actually. And we do have some of those pictures on our own sites and our own channels. We haven't really shared much on the Kickstarter page because we didn't want the wrong kind of expectation to be set.
Yeah, that's probably better. Yeah.
These are miniatures that we want people to paint themselves, and I think people will enjoy painting these miniatures because they're very very interesting.
Cool. Yeah, they look that way. And so let's see here. And so so if you're listening, you're like, if somebody's listening and they just, I don't know, they might have fallen asleep due to my voice. They couldn't have fallen asleep due to the game. But if they suddenly woke up and they're catching the tail end of this, why should somebody take a chance on this game on your Kickstarter?
Yeah, we are a new company, yes. It's our first board game, true, but we are an experienced crew. We are an experienced crew of comic book artists and video game developers and movie makers, and we're working together. We are a team of 7 people that has worked on this project together. We've taken most of the risk out of it. We've actually play tested the game a lot. We've finished all the concept work. We've prototyped all the 3D. We have one of the best manufacturers in the world, Panda Game Manufacturing, coming out of Seattle, actually helping us manufacture this game. Panda Game is the same people who make Pandemic. They also make the tail feathers for the Mice and Mystics line. So they're a very experienced manufacturer. So we've kind of taken a lot of the risk out of it. Yes, it's a very unique game. Yes, it's a very big game. But it's also, it's also the best game we could have made. We've really put our heart and soul and love into making this game, and we've tried to make it the best game that we could make it. And so, if that's not enough, then I don't know what is.
Cool. Yeah, it sounds like an awesome thing. I can't wait to see it in live action. Yeah, that looks like a really cool game. Now, another part on our podcast is AAA. Don't worry, this is a family podcast, so it's not Alcoholics Anonymous. It is actually Adventures in Application Acquisition. Sid, is there an application that either you or your kids use, whether it be on tablet or cell phone or computer or even video game, that we can talk about for a minute?
You're talking about an app?
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to be a game or anything. It could be just an application you use every day, or it can be a game, just something else we talk about on the show.
Oh, okay. So, of course I use the regular Twitter and Facebook and all of those. I actually use, in our family we have this fascination for the microscopic world, and so I use an app called the NeuroGo Micro, which is it's an American company that builds a microscope. It's a small little lens that sits on your phone, and it lets you look at things with about 400% magnification. So one of our favorite things to do with me and my daughters is that we go out into the garden or even at home. We look at things under the microscope and look at something that you don't actually get to see. So look at things up close. So that's one of the kind of quirkier apps that we use.
Well, that's really cool. What was the name of it again?
It's called NeuroGo Micro.
Cool.
It's a microscope, basically.
Cool. Is that available on both Android and Apple, do you know?
Yes. I actually kickstarted it almost about a year ago. And so, yeah, it's definitely available.
Cool. It was something that somebody else came out with on Kickstarter?
Yes. It's NURUGO, NeuroGo. NeuroGo. It's a microscope, and it's a microscope for your mobile phone, and it's a small little lens that you can attach to your mobile phone, and it does like 400% magnification.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. So I imagine that costs, doesn't it? I know you probably got a deal with the Kickstarter, but do you know what it costs approximately?
Yeah, I actually haven't. I got mine and I've been playing with it. I haven't actually looked it up, but when I got it, it was like it was just about $40, and I think right now it's about around, it should be no more than like $60 to $80.
Cool, that's awesome. So if you own the rights to that, what would be one thing you would do to make it a better application?
That's brutal. That's brutal. How can you ask me to answer that? I actually quite enjoy their app. I really do enjoy their product. So I have no complaints. I truly enjoy it. I'd probably kind of work on their marketing a bit. I think have more people know about it. It's really cool to have for families.
Yeah, that's the first time I've heard about it. That's awesome. So we'll go ahead and we'll look that up and leave something in the show notes as well, as along with your Kickstarter and everything. Yeah, so I really appreciate you coming on. We really appreciate you coming on
Getting with Geeky with Gamerly.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed this. Yeah, this is actually my second podcast, so this is a very new experience for me. I'm not quite used to it yet.
Oh, that's okay. I think you did great. What was the first podcast you were on?
One of my friends runs a podcast called People Make Things. One of my friends is he's quite a famous dude. He's Christopher Natsu. He was the producer on Far Cry the video game.
Cool.
So he runs this little podcast, People Make Games, and he'd had me on, and just about a couple of weeks ago.
Cool. It's called People Make Games.
Talk about our Kickstarter. So
cool.
That was my first one. This is my second one. So I'm still trying to learn how to deal with this.
Well, yeah, I think you did fine. So it's called his podcast is called People Make Games. Is that what he said?
No, People Make Things.
People Make Things. Cool. We'll have to check that out as well. Cool. Well, I really appreciate you coming on the show with us today.
I really appreciate you having me. Thank you. It's very a lot of fun, and I just wanted to say to your daughter, yes, Machi Koro is great.
Cool. Yeah, she really likes it.
Getting Geeky with Gamerly.
We join you on
Kickstarter Corner. I'm Princess
Warrior Leaf.
Then I'm joined by Gamerleaf and Batleaf. That's Batgirl.
Batgirl Leaf. That's the.
It's only Batgirl.
Okay, well, Batgirl might be copyrighted, so we're gonna go Batgirl Leaf or Batleaf. Let's say Batleaf.
It's Batgirl.
We don't want to get in trouble from DC Comics. So if you hear her saying Batgirl, she really means Batleaf. Now, we're going to be talking, Princess Warrior Leaf said we're doing Kickstarter Corner. A few of the games we're talking about is, what's this one called?
Swords and Cells.
They're launching, well, by the time you hear this episode, they will have already launched, but tell us a little bit about it.
So, Swords and Cells is an epic conquest and
epic conquest and diplomacy game
about leading your armies and fleets through the
medieval Europe
in
1000 AD. Yes. Now Batleaf wants to talk to us. Batleaf, what did you want to say?
I want to say Kickstarter.
Okay, well, Batleaf, you need to focus on this, okay? This is a fun game, Batleaf. Look at this. What is it called? Hey, look, it's got, what is that? Can you see what that is? Say it aloud.
It's a penguin.
Okay, not yelling, but it's a penguin. And this is on a game called Wing It. And what Wing It is, it's a game of extreme storytelling.
Players compete to tell the best story about how they'll dealt with
absurd situation
using the few random objects they have on hand.
On hand, cool. And they've got 12 days as the day of this recording on Kickstarter. But Kess, our Princess Queen Leaf, Batleaf is going to bed, I guess. She's missed us and she's really tired, so she's going to bed. Am I right?
Hello, we're back now. Okay, so we're going to talk about some other games. We're going to talk about... Okay, so this is called the Cold Crash War, a role-playing game setting for the Savage Worlds and CEPHEUS system based on Robert S. Spring, the Cold War crash, and they've pledged 756 of 5,000, which is a goal. They have 30 backers and 23 days to go, so that's cool. Next, we're going to do Potato Pirates. Learn coding without computers. So you can be a pirate and you can be a potato. Potatoes, programming, and piracy rolls into a static card game perfect for classrooms, family days, or even game nights with friends. By Automotive, first created, and follow him or her. Anyway, they have $30,581 pledged of $11,168, which is their goal. They have 762 backers and 30 days to go. And now we're going to move on to Scrooge. You may have heard about this. The mind-blowing survival game. Survival game. A survival board game for families and fun-loving adults. Can you out-Scrooge Scrooge? This is related to DuckTales. Anyway, they've pledged 10,193 out of 19,765, which is their goal. They have 154 backers and 23 days to go.
So probably 21 when you hear this.
Yeah.
Now where are we at, Princess? Are we on this one?
Yeah. Arcana. Andoria Battlefields. Tired of choosing just one side? Command both of the heroes and monsters
simultaneously
in a fast-paced racing battle game. This is a new one. 19 days to go. So at the time of this when we publish it, it's gonna be 17 days, I think.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And so this is like, I think of this as kind of like Summoner Wars, but you're being the bad guys and the good guys.
So you're controlling both sides.
Yes, ma'am. So yeah, so that's what the game looks like.
And it's 10 and to adult age.
Can you play or not? Are you old enough?
Yeah, but sometimes we can go over the age limit and play when we're not old enough.
Oh, don't tell the game board police.
Don't know what he's talking. I think he's teasing.
You never know with Game Relief. Now, what other ones do we need to talk about? Do you know? This one we just did. This one was the episode, what we just talked about. Do we need to do these two?
No, I did that one.
Okay, what other ones? What do we need to do?
Ancient Artifacts.
Do you remember about Ancient Artifacts?
Yeah, it's related to Indiana Jones. It was back in 1989.
The 1980s, somewhere around there.
Anyway, also it's related to VeggieTales, Larry and the Magic Hairbrush. You're trying to find artifacts and fighting everybody on the board.
Okay. What else do we got?
Let's see. Arcade Fighter.
And that's kind of like that new video game we have on the Switch. Do you remember what that is?
Street Fighter.
Except you are not fighting on the video game. Where do you think you're fighting?
Again.
On the tabletop.
And I think you can throw cards.
No, that's another one. That's Return of the Exiled. But this is Arcade Fighter. It's a new one where you're actually fighting each other with cards.
Yeah, I
but
think
it's
just got published.
Yeah, it just barely went up. I can show you, but go on to the next one while I show you.
Darna the Archmage.
You remember that one, don't you? It's coming back to Kickstarter.
Yeah.
It comes back tomorrow, but...
I don't remember much about it, though. Sorry, guys.
Well, we'll go to it. What else do we got? Anything else?
Not that I know of.
What about our list? Did our list have anything else?
I mostly did all of them.
Did you? Let's see if this is it. No, that's not it. Okay.
He went into Facebook.
Well, he's trying to look for it. Let's see here. What we want to do is we want to go to Kickstarter. And then you did this one?
He forgot to be going to Kickstarter.
Arcade. Right here.
It's a ninja one. A 2 to 6 player strategic game that takes tag team fighting on the tabletop. 770 pledged of 5,800 gold. 18 backers, and at the time of this recording, it will be 21 days.
At the time of the publishing, it's 23
Yeah.
right now, but 21.
Yeah. It's 15 to 45 minutes, ages 10 and up, 2 to 6 players.
Yeah, so you're fighting each other on the table. Look.
Sounds cool.
So you each have a player, that's your player, there's your player.
Like a
and you have
sumo
cards
wrestle.
and you fight each other. So that's pretty cool, huh?
So a sumo wrestle, but it has girls, yay.
Oh boy, what else did you want us to talk about?
Dawn of the Archmage.
Okay, and that's launching again to Kickstarter, so that's exciting.
Tomorrow.
And
But when you hear this, it will be launching already.
And here's a little bit about it. Don't read this, just read this.
Okay, 2 to 4 players. Game of miniatures, mages, and monsters. Battle with monsters and
Gladiatorial.
combat for the right to be Archmage.
Okay, don't read that because they're relaunching, remember? And so, yeah, there's some cool minis. I've seen some really cool pictures of them painted. Possibly I can leave those on. And you can always go back and listen to our...
notes.
Yeah, in the show notes. And you can always go back and listen to our previous episode where we interviewed Dave, the creator of it.
Yeah, so going back that after this published is published.
What else do we got? Anything else?
Let's see.
Did you talk about this one?
Yeah.
We
don't have any more. We're signing off now.
Okay, so Game Relief out.
Game Relief out.
Well, that was
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Ogre Cheerleaders is a lighthearted card game where players are trying to recruit the best squad of ogre cheerleaders. The way that works is each turn you play an ogre onto the field and resolve the card effects. The cards rearrange or manipulate what's on the field in some way, with the goal of arranging them into different formations that you can score, such as multiple cards next to each other that have the same value or are from the same team. It's a fun and silly game for ages 8 and up, so it's easy enough for anyone to learn how to play. Games are quick and last around 10 minutes or less, and it's a single deck of cards, so it's easy to bring it with you and play a few games at the restaurant while you're waiting for your food, or if you just don't have long enough to play longer games. We call it a 2-ish player game, which means that it was made to be played by 2 players, but you can add an extra player or 2 to the game and it still works just fine. The game will just involve more luck the more players you add. The artwork really helps bring the game to life, and will have you laughing each time you play an ogre cheerleader to the field. Check out the Kickstarter page, which will be live until September 14th.
Gamer Leaf levels up. Tune in next week to see if Gamer Leaf's luck holds up.